I'd like to introduce Mr. Stephen Yee of SkyPoint Financial. I'll let him introduce himself. And you also see Evan Schickel. That's my son. He's a high producing agent as well, who recently got started doing some of the same things that Mr. Stephen's going to talk about here. And we're excited to go over this stuff. I'm going to put my comments up. We're ready to go. So again, if you have any questions along the way, folks, just go ahead and type them in. And I may or may not be able to see your name, but we're going to ask the question and get it to Mr. Yee, and you'll be able to we'll be able to answer your questions as best we can. So with that, Stephen Yee, tell us about yourself, where you're from, how many kids, family, what got you in the insurance business, all the good stuff.
Absolutely. Well, before I get started, Sean, I'd be remiss if I didn't say a few kind words about you and Evan. I had a chance to be able to work on you with some health stuff and realize that, our industries are actually very similar, which is the reason why we're doing this together. So, I appreciate you for everything you've done for our group too. And once again, thank you for your service. And we definitely appreciate it. So, my name is Steven. I'm 34. I got started in the life insurance industry about 7 years ago. I was coaching high school basketball for about 12 years. Right after I graduated, I went into coaching. Coached lower levels for 6 years, and then coached varsity boys for 6 years. And met my wife, and we had a $40,000 wedding to pay for, and I didn't have $40,000. So a good friend of mine, he is actually from the Air Force, and he said, "Hey, I think you should try to sell this life insurance thing." And I said, "Well, if it doesn't work, I got to go get a job, so it has to work." And so that was 2018, early 2018. Put my head down. I went to a sales conference and just watched all these people do really, really well. And it was about an hour and a half drive from my house. And so when I drove back home, I didn't call my mom. I didn't call my fiance at the time. I didn't call my friends. I was just in the car thinking. And right about the time I pulled up to the driveway, I wanted to quit. And I say that because that was where my mindset was. I had so many limiting beliefs and lacked self-confidence and, didn't really know how to do it. Right. And so what I did was I said, you know what, I'm just going to follow instructions. As a basketball player, when the coach told me to do something, I would just do it. Right. And as a coach, when I was giving players instructions, I would expect the same. So I said, you know what? These guys are going to be my financial coaches. They're going to be my insurance coaches. And that's what we did. And so, I had a goal to, pay off that wedding as quick as I can. And so my first month playing around with life insurance, didn't really know what I was doing. I had about 20 appointments the last 2 weeks of March, 2018. I sat down with 12 of them. Yeah. So 8 of them didn't show up. I sat down with 12. And out of the 12, I only helped 4. So if we're talking about sports, that's a horrible shooting percentage, right? 4 out of 20 is 20%. So I called my buddy Joe and I said, "Hey, Joe, before you fire me, I quit." And he said, "Well, why would you do that?" And I said, "Because I suck so bad at this that I can't imagine you would want me on your team." And Joe said, "Well, before you do that, I want you to pull up your bank account statements, see how much the insurance companies paid you, and we'll reevaluate." And so I did. And so for those 4 sales, Sean, they paid me $5,200.
Yeah.
And I was like, wait a second, worked 2 weeks, sucked. They paid me $5,000. I said, "Joe, you think if I worked in April the whole month and I still suck, they might mess around and pay me 10?" And he goes, "It's only one way we find out." Right. And so we worked in April. We made $12,000 that month. And then in May, we did $29,000. We basically paid off the wedding cash, got married. And 2 months after we got married, retired my wife from the workforce. And then we basically had kids. I have a 4.5-year-old and a 2.5-year-old right now. So hopefully it stays that way. But I love it, man. The insurance business, I say this all the time. It was one of the very few industries that you can take an average person like myself, and with the correct system in place, with the work ethic, with the lead platform that we work with the training platforms that we have, take someone that had 0 experience and teach them how to be a millionaire time and time over and over again. So I don't say that to impress you. I just say that to say, if it can happen to me, I'm not special. So, if you did the same, it might happen for you too.
Yeah, let's go into that a little bit if you don't mind. So, can an average person off the street with a lot of effort do well selling life insurance?
The way we do it, Absolutely. So we don't do it. So here's what I've learned about the life insurance industry over the last few years. There's there's three ways most people generate business, right? So the first way people generate business is, the typical multi-level marketing, network marketing way where they go, hey, make a list of your friends and family. Let's go bother them and sell them life insurance. Well, the only problem is I'm Asian. Asian people don't believe in life insurance, right? So when I got my insurance license, true story, when I got my life insurance license, my mom was like, "You're very stupid," and I was like, "Why?" She said, "You should have got a real estate license. A lot of people buy homes, not a lot of people buy insurance." And I said, "That's really odd." So to this day, no family member, my aunts, my uncles, my parents, my mom, when she passed, she had life insurance because I was like, I'm an only child, so I'm going to buy your life insurance. And so when you die, I'm okay, But besides that, no one had life insurance in our family, and to this day. And so I look at it saying, if that was our business model, I would have been out of business on day one, right? The second type of business model that you have in the life insurance space is you have the brick and mortar business. People walk in through your door and go, hey, I want to buy life insurance, kind of like your traditional PNC shops that they have, right? And then the third way is how we operate, and it's with leads. And so there are people that request information, whether it's online digitally, they handwrite a form and send it back to us. Someone's requesting information. Now, they're not guaranteed sales, right? They're just interested. And so what I've learned is it's so much easier for me to talk to someone that's interested about life insurance than to bother my friends and family, aunts and uncles, whoever it may be, and try to convince them to buy life insurance. Although everybody needs it, not saying that they don't. I rather work with someone that's interested, already knows what the product is. They know they probably need it. It's a lot easier for me to have that conversation.
Yeah.
And so what we've seen in our company is we have a lot of agents that are young, 21, 25-year-old. They do very, very well, sell, a couple 100,000 a year easily on their own pen without a team. And the reason is because everybody goes, well, you got to be really good. And I said, okay, let me break it down to you how simple it is. And this is why I believe our industry is really, really great. If I walk into the Nike shoe store and I go, man, those shoes right there are pretty cool. I go, can I get them in a size 10? Sales guy goes in the back, grabs a size 10. He gives it to me. I put them on. I try them. I'm like, they're pretty cool. He walks me to the cash register. The guy rings me up. I pay. Did that guy sell me shoes or did I buy? Right? I bought. These clients fill out forms. They're naturally curious on their own, right? We call them. We go, hey, Mary. Hey, Bob. My name is Steven, licensed life insurance agent in the state of Nevada. Got your request, had a few questions I want to ask you. Ask them a series of questions. What size shoes you wear, right? Who are you trying to leave money behind to, whatever it may be. And then I go, well, these are your three best options. This one is $150. This one is, 110. And this one is 80. Which one do you like? She goes, I take this one. And we submit an application, and 24 to 48 hours later, we get paid. Like, what I've learned is we're glorified order takers. And so, Sean, to your question, do we think we can pull someone off the street and teach them how to do what we do? Yes, every day of the week, because of the way we have done it. It's not sales. I think it's more order taking, right? Question asking, order taking. If you can listen to what the client wants and give them that, I think that's basically what sales is, right? Giving the client what they need. So I believe, yes, we could.
Now, you're not only well known for being one of the top life agents, in the country. Literally, you're a full partner with integrity, and you don't get there by being, I'm a partner as well. You don't get there by being some average person. You're in the top 1% of the 1%.
Right.
That's who they're looking for. So you're not only one of the top agents in the country, but you're one of the top trainers. That's something I've definitely learned here in the last couple months with you. You know, teaching agents to sell life insurance. What would you say is your secret to success on training or selling life insurance?
It's a great question. So I learned this when I was coaching basketball, and Bobby Knight, right? He's no longer here with us, but he's a legend, like especially in the coaching industry. And so I remember going to a coach's clinic one time, and he said, regardless of who you work with, whether it's children, high school kids, or even adults, when you teach, you need to be very elementary in your teaching, because if you give them too many instructions, they're not going to be able to remember and execute. So if I said, hey, I need you to do X, Y, and Z, and 1, and 2, and 3, that's a lot. So what I've gotten really, really good at is just giving people one step at a time. And so one of the things that we have done in our group is we'll teach people how to sell insurance, but it's very simple. It's you watch me do it, right? I watch you do it, and then you go do it and teach it. And then what's crazy is when they go teach it, because they have to actually learn how to share it amongst other people, they actually are better at doing it because now they have to teach it.
Yeah.
And so it's always been like very like in a sports way, right? Like when I was coaching, varsity boys, like we would take our seniors, like the top 1 or 2 options on our team, and we go make them work with our up and coming guys, right? And be a very small workout. Well, why? Because those guys next year will be in their shoes, right? And so it's very similar to what we did in our insurance agency. Was we just took our top producers and we sold in front of people, whether we put them in our car, whether we sell them on Zoom, whatever it is, we sold in front of people. They get to hear what we say, listen to how we ask questions, whatever it is. And many times, this is what the most fascinating part is. People go, that's all you do? Yeah, I just know how to ask a lot of questions and get a response that I want.
Yeah.
Right. Like, and so what happens is they get to see us do that. And then we go, all right, your turn. And then we get to be the spectator and go, all right, Evan, let's see how you're going to ask the questions. Let's see what you're going to say. And then we watch Evan and we go, hey, next time you might want to say it like this. When the client asks this question, this is what they mean. And then now Evan's like, oh, I got this. And then we're like, all right, cool, Evan, you're good. You're on your own. Now, Evan, it's your job to now teach it.
Yeah.
And so
go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No. And so what I was saying was when Evan is able to actually take that knowledge and then be able to teach it to someone he knows, that's how we grew so easily. It was basically synergy. Everything we did was almost a replication of one another.
And, and for people who focus only on Medicare, maybe they're just kind of watching or whatever, you can do the same thing in Medicare. It's how we do it. I always talk about sales as sort of like a safe. And, there's certain combination and you have to figure out what the combination is for that person. But that combination comes down to many different factors. But what you say, how you say it, the tonality that you're using, the questions that you're asking to get specific answers. If I just ask a yes or no question, and I better expect a yes or no answer, of course, more of an open-ended question. It just comes down to learning how to probe and ask the right questions, especially at the right time.
Correct.
In my opinion. And that's something I've learned, as I've jumped more into the life side of things, as well. There is a question that I have from Mr. Bobby Rush, a good friend of mine. He wanted to know when you first got started. So let's talk about first got started to say now. What was your cost per acquisition back when you first got started compared to what it might be now? If you want to go into that. And what about chargebacks early on? Did you have a lot of chargebacks?
Great
There's
question.
a lot of agents that are going to be thinking, I'm going to sell final expense and I'm going to have a bunch of chargebacks or whatever they're selling, term or whatever. Talk about that a little bit to help from the
Great question.
side of things. Yeah.
Absolutely. So, once again, I sucked. Like, I'm not very good. So my ratios were always $1 to 4 to 5. So for every dollar I spent, I made about $4 to $5. So like on an average week when I was brand new, I would spend $500. I'd probably make about $2,000, right? 1 to 4. When I got decent, can you see me? Did I get kicked off?
No, I can see it.
Oh,
Yep, you're
okay.
good.
So when I was decent, I was spending closer to about $1,500 to $2,000 a week, and I was making $8,000 to $10,000 a week as a personal producer. Nothing really changed because what I learned how to scale was, all right, if I have this many amount of leads, I'm going to have this amount of appointments. If I have this many appointments, I'm going to have this many sits, and I'm going to have this many sits. The numbers in our company is 30, 20, 10. If I have 30 appointments, 20 will show up. If 20 showed up, 10 will buy. Yeah. And the reason why was because they filled out the form. Right? Like I wasn't cold door knocking like these solar guys out there that were like just going, hey, Sean, I was working with your neighbor across the street. We're not doing that. Like I show up to the door and be like, hey, Sean, how's it going? This is Steve. We have an appointment at 4. And you're like, yeah, come on in. Right. Or do it on Zoom or on the phone, whatever it is. It wasn't a cold appointment. Right. And so for me, it was like if I had 30 appointments, 20 of them were going to show up. If 20 of them showed up, half would buy. My closing rate was god awful. It was about basically 50%, right? When I got good. And so each sale on average is about $1,000 in commission. So 10 sales, roughly about 10 grand. That would cost me about $1,500 to $2,000 a week on lead spend. And I just rode that wave. Now, here's the thing. There are agents in our company that are way better than me. They spend $1, they go make 10.
Yeah.
I'm not that guy. Evan might be, though, because he's a stud. But so for me,
How about that?
Once I
Evan,
realized,
real quick, Evan, can you dunk a basketball? Still?
Yep.
All right, there we go.
there you go.
Maybe
I used to about like 10 years ago. So what I would always tell people is once I found out my ratios, it was just me buying more money. Does that make sense? Like if I spend 1,000 to make 5, then I go, okay, well, I want to make 20. Then I spend 4 to make 20. All right, well, I got to make 80. Then I spend, right? Like it was just numbers for me. And so the scaling was always the same. That was my numbers. My chargeback rate, the industry standard's about 30% in final expense. When I was selling insurance at a high level, it's probably closer to about like 20 to 25. But that's where we're moving toward the more permanent insurance route right now, where it's with like infinite banking, whole life products or IULs or GULs, kind of like what we've talked about. And with those products, the persistency is 92%. So less than 1 out of 10 clients will drop off. Right. And so we've migrated into that too recently, and we've seen phenomenal results with that.
And maybe there's some Medicare agent out there saying, well, I focus on the older market, but there's a lot of Medicare agents in the last 2 years that have jumped on board with ACA, and they're selling to 26-year-olds to 64-year-olds, and there's a lot of term to be had, a lot of term life policies to be had, a lot of GULs to be had, IULs, infinite banking. I mean, I preach to the choir for you, but you don't just have to sell final expense to your book of
Correct.
business. We're going to talk about this kind of being a profit center. You've already hit some of the numbers, but I do want to ask a question, if you don't mind. It's kind of segueing back a little bit, and then we'll come back to the numbers. But I saw an interview or something somewhere early on, probably about 4 or 5 months ago that you did. I was probably on YouTube, I don't know. But you talked about, the way I'll ask it is, what kind of struggles or mental barriers did you have? Because I had a lot. I've had a lot over the years.
Right.
And I had to get rid of them. And, so you're a top producer, big agency, the whole bit, partner, all that. What did you have in your head that you believed were reasons why people wouldn't buy from you? And can you talk about that a little bit?
Absolutely. So just to give you an idea, our agency last year did about 17.5 million in premium, which is, like Sean said, top 1% of a 1%. That's what people see nowadays, right? Where I was 7 years ago, it was the conversation. It was basically what I said when I was driving back home from that training that I went to. A few things. I said, I'm in my 20s. Most of our clients are probably going to be 40, 50 years old. Like, what the hell do I know about life?
Yeah.
Right? Let alone death. By the way, my first funeral that I've ever gone to, that I knew the person, was my mom. And that was after I sold life insurance, right? During the entire process, I never had gone to a funeral for the person that I actually knew. Like I went for like a supporting of a friend of mine, their grandparents passed or something, but I didn't know the person. So I never dealt with a funeral, which is fascinating because now that I have, I'm like, there's no way you can say no to me because I just know what happens during that time. But so many things. I was like, I'm too young. They wouldn't buy from me. I have pimples. I'm not good looking. I don't have a college degree. I'm Asian, right? Like so many things. I'm not worth it. You want to know the craziest thing I've ever had? This messes people up. The third month in the company, I did 29,000. Well, our president and CEO flew out and did a podcast with myself and 2 other agents. And we're shooting content about basically like how I sold insurance and how we all sold insurance. And right when the podcast had ended, I said, hey, his name is Sean as well. I said, hey, Sean, I want to tell you something. He said, what? I said, I don't think I deserve the money they paid me. And he was like, because he's never heard that, right? Because most people are like, man, they didn't pay me enough. I was like on the other side, like they overpaid me, right? And he said, well,
That's funny.
why do you think that? I was like, well, my entire life, everybody told me how hard it was to make six figs. And, which is like 8,000 a month. Well, I just did 29 and
4 weeks.
I don't know if it was that hard,
Yeah.
and he goes, dude, did you buy the leads? I was like, yep. And he goes, did you make the phone calls? I was like, yep. You got the rejection? I was like, I definitely did. He goes, and you made the sales. You definitely deserved it. And I was like, okay. Right. And here's what's crazy. You talk about the mind, right? A year later, that year, my first year I did about 140. My second year I did 250. A year later, if I did less than 20, I would have probably drove my car into a tree. It went from like, I didn't deserve it to what the hell, you only did 20. Like, does that make sense? Like,
Yeah,
I
no,
was
right.
the same person, same social, same height and weight, like, but my mind changed. And that's what this business did for me. It gave me a different perspective on money because of our platform and how we've done it. So that's the reason why I'm saying I don't think I would have been as successful working at different places because of how the setup was, right? Like I always say, like with professional athletes, like you can take a player that was drafted by a team, they don't do very well. Everybody wants to call them a bust. And now they go to another team and they win the Super Bowl their first year. Matt Stafford, right? Like played 10 years for Detroit. They're like, he's washed. He's not very good. He goes to LA. And matter of fact, it was a great switch for the both of them. And now they're phenomenal. Mm-hmm. Right. And so I say that because sometimes you have to find the correct company, a company that's going to invest in you, a company that has the systems and the tools that you need. And Sean, that's basically what you're doing in the Medicare side and you're about to do in the life side. And that's the reason why a lot of people will follow you. I talk to a lot of agency managers every single day because people always call to find out what we're trying to do, or they're trying to sell us something to do. And what's fascinating is a lot of times I can look at a company and go, there's gaps. Okay. They got the system figured out, but they don't have leads. Well, they got leads, but they don't have a CRM to be able to store the leads. They don't have a way to basically make more money on those leads. For those of you guys that don't know, when I had a chance to peek into Sean and how he runs his business, I was like, there's a reason why he's an integrity partner, because he knows exactly what it is. His system looks almost identical to ours. And that's the reason why I firmly believe he will blow this thing up on the life side.
It's funny you mention that because we talk about it behind the scenes. You and I haven't talked about it, but I've talked about it with several people. And in fact, last night I had conversations with one of our top producing Medicare agents who also sells a lot of life insurance. And anyway, that was the discussion, was we are so exactly similar, selling the same thing. Yep. And I suspect that regardless of what a person sells, whether it's cell phones or cars or shoes or whatever, life insurance, Medicare, that the similarities of top performing agencies and businesses and people are it's leads, it's a system, it's phone scripts and support and the right contracts, all the marketing, all the various things that you need to have in place to make a person successful. I mean, we're actually not a really large numerically. We don't have a lot of agents on purpose,
right?
But with the small amount of agents we have, we outproduce agencies with 2,000-3,000 agents literally every day. I mean, it's crazy. When I became a partner, true story, with Integrity, I had 7 agents. We were and I was outselling agencies with 5,000-6,000 people in every single day. Why? Because we're just efficient, and that's what your system is. And Rich Bronstein asked the question. I'll ask it just after this one because I think it kind of falls right after this next question. But why should a Medicare-focused agent, in your opinion, sell life insurance as part of their offering?
That's actually what I wanted to talk about next. Yeah. So think about this. There's always been a conversation about, you get a life and health license, right? Which is what we have. And people go, well, you have to do Medicare because it's great back end money and, X, Y, Z. And then the life insurance agent goes, well, I don't want the back end money. Pay me as much as I can up front. Here's my answer. And I learned this when I was younger. A friend of mine basically said, if there's a $100 bill and a $50 bill, what do you take? And I was like, 100. He goes, no, dude, you take both. And see, that's what you guys are allowed to do with the license you carry. One of my top life insurance agents is not even a full-time life insurance agent. You know why? He's a 20-year career Medicare agent. He called me. Somehow he watched one of our YouTube videos and was like, hey, saw you. I think I like you. Want to call you and partner with you. Can you give me a contract? I was like, absolutely. I was like, well, we work with leads. And he was like, I don't need them. I have 20 years of clients to call through. I said, all right.
Yeah.
You want to know what's crazy, Sean? He's placed $365,000 worth of business in a 6-month time frame, 0 cancellations, 0 chargebacks, no lead costs.
Yeah.
And I said, damn, that's actually pretty smart. He goes, well, after open enrollment, what am I going to do? I was like, I don't know. I don't know how that works because, in the life side, we sell life all year, right? I was like, I don't really understand how that works. He goes, yeah. He goes, I just called my clients from like years ago and said, hey, I know you guys probably carry some type of final expense. Who do you have it with? Well, hey, you should probably get it with us because we do it now too. And that's all he did. And they showed up because they knew who he was, because he was their agent. So, by the way, for those of you that have been in sales before, the second sale is always easier than the first one because they already know, like, and trust you. The rapport is already there. And so, in my opinion, the reason why a Medicare agent should sell life insurance is because you can double dip. You have a client, you can get multiple products on that client, and it makes you more profitable. And guess what? The persistency of both products are strengthened because there's multiple products. It's the reason why guys that sell PNC, they sell you home, auto, bundle it with life, because they know it's going to be impossible for you to cancel all 3. You might be able to beat them on the car insurance, but not the homeowners and the life, though, right? Same concept here. If you can do their Medicare and their life stuff, you basically become their life insurance or their agent, period. Not just life insurance, but period.
Yeah. The other thing, too, I think sometimes when you're selling something, one product like just Medicare, maybe you get a little worn out. Maybe it's one of the things I like about the insurance business. I'm an insurance agent. We have a group, Medicare and all this. But I consider myself an insurance agent more than anything.
Right.
We choose to focus on Medicare, and I like Medicare and all that. But personally, I sold a lot of life insurance. There was a time when I was doing about $7,000 a week for me years ago, and then I just moved into Medicare. But now we're pushing into life. We're going to be doing both. It gives you the ability to change and go into this pod or that pod if you want to. If you get a little burnout on one or the other. A big part of Medicare that's tough is financially is the first 3 years. You can get wealthy in Medicare, but it's a get rich slow scheme. For the most part, it is not a get rich quick scheme. And so there's so many agents who have great intentions of getting involved with selling Medicare and helping people with Medicare and all the good things that can come from helping those people, but they can't make it financially. And I have talked to so many of those agents. Well, selling things like life insurance, annuities, and so on. Of course, other things like cancer, heart attack, stroke, hospital gambling, and all that. But nothing's better on a consistent basis in the insurance business, in my opinion, especially in the short term for cash flow, than life insurance.
Yes.
And so this question comes from Richard Bronstein,
hey, I wanted to ask you something before you dive into the next question, Sean.
Yeah.
Break down the Medicare structure for me. So, like, let's say I sell a client, right? She's 65, whatever it is. How quick do I see that commission?
It's going to depend.
Some carriers will pay within a week. It also kind of depends on your contracts and who you're with and all that. Some usually about a month to 2 months. If I write somebody now for March 1st effective day, so I just wrote somebody today, April 1st effective day, if we get it approved, I might get half of the commission that I'm supposed to get on this particular guy within a week or 2. Typically, it kind of depends on when the pay period hits, and then I won't get the money depending on the carrier because every carrier is different for like another month. So the cash flow is very difficult, and then of course I won't get paid on anything until they renew, or if I resell them during that enrollment period.
That's the reason why I say I looked at it like this: Medicare on the health side builds your future and your retirement, while the lifestyle pays for your bills today, right? Because so think about this, the average commission on the life side, depending on your contracts, depending on the carriers you're writing, and depending on what your comp level is, obviously. But when I wrote life insurance, my average premium was between $125 a month to $175 a month. Like, it wasn't breaking the bank. Now, don't get me wrong. I had the $200, $300, $400, $500 a month clients. I had the $60, $70, $80 a month clients. The average commission paid dropped into my bank account was $1,000 24 to 48 hours after the sale.
Yeah.
And so, like, think about if you had a mortgage or rent or a car payment, or you had debt or whatever it is. That's one of the things that we had a lot of fun with, because I have a lot of guys on our team that are very young, and, they have college tuition to pay for. Right now they graduated. Now they carry, $50,000, $60,000, $70,000 worth of debt. And I'm like, hey, the crazy part about college loans are, they're like, what? I'm like, you can't BK on them. You have to pay them. They're like, okay. And I'm like, so this is what we're going to do. We're going to go rip for the next 3 months, and you're going to wipe off all those loans. And we made it a game. Nice. Right. And so that's why I'm saying you can pay for a lot of that stuff up front until your Medicare renewals kick in and the back end money starts to flow. And kind of like what Sean said, it's like after the third or fourth year, now you're starting to make great money. See, that was the other thing. Like, I didn't think I was very good. My first year in life insurance, after chargebacks, after everything, it's like 140. Second year, 250. Third year was 500. Fourth year and ever since has been over $1 million.
That's what you're making.
That was deposited into the bank account.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Right. I don't know the Medicare stats. And by the way, I'm not special. There's a lot of people that do it quicker.
Yeah.
I'm like, how long would that take you in your space? You see what I mean? And that's where I say, play both industries, be in both of them. Yeah. There's no wrong answer.
You want to take a
$50 bill under 100.
The average Medicare agent might be lucky to bring in $10,000 a month. Lucky.
Got it.
Actually, the average is much less than that. But a high-performing agent doing 15 a month kind of depends on what they're selling. Commissions probably over the years have been selling average around 500. Some are going to be more, some are going to be less. You're talking 15 times 500 is, that's a good producing agent. I definitely was abnormal and a very high producer very quickly, but I had some things, some logistics, money basically. A lot of agents come in, they don't have money.
Right.
And in Medicare, and that's going to lead me back to that same question I just asked. Actually, they come in with the great intentions, but they don't have cash to buy leads or whatever. They have a little bit, but not a lot of it. So, truth be told, how did good old Uncle Sean make it? I sold life insurance. I came into this industry. I had an income from my military retirement, but I didn't have a lot of money saved up. I was in a kind of a bad place mentally without going on all that stuff. But I knew I wanted to get insurance and sell it. I struggled a little early on, but I started with $600.
Yeah, me too.
And what I did is I said, all right, how can I? And I don't lack confidence. How can I? What am I going to do with $600? Man, come on, $600. The best way in the bank for me to make money was to sell final expense life insurance. I didn't necessarily want to be honest with you. I had no desire of going in somebody's home and all the things that can happen when you're knocking on doors and all those horror stories. But I knew it was the best way for me to get, say, $7,000 at the end of the week and have that money deposited either each day or by the early next week. And so I just kept taking it and kept replicating that until I built and built and built and built. And I still do that. Frankly, in my business, I'm actually one of the least paid employees on purpose because I'm still just investing in agents and independent agents or agents here. So, that's why you sell life insurance. It does way more than put food on your plate if you're a hustler. And it's just a numbers game, just like everything else. I had to learn to get comfortable with those numbers, and I'm sure you did as well. I had the same barriers, And when I got rid of all the barriers and I figured out the numbers, it was just playing numbers on a calendar. I need so many appointments. I'll get so many contacts. Even if I'm bad, I'm going to get so many yeses. And in life insurance, I would submit if you're working full time, well, I would say $5,000 a week in premium. If you're working hard but you're not really great at it, $5,000 in premium.
Yeah, I think you'd be a bad agent, but yeah.
Well, yeah, I trust me. I know a lot of those agents. With your training, you're working full time and you're an average agent. It's a lot more than 5. All right. And
Oh yeah.
Evan just got started. How old are you, Evan?
23.
23. Right out of the college. Where'd you go to college?
The Citadel Military School of South Carolina.
Yeah. Which real quick, I know you're my son. Obviously, I know all these answers. But what's your background? You play sports? What'd you do?
Yeah, I went there on full football scholarship. Graduated in 3 years because I didn't like being there anymore. And
But you
got
graduated.
into, I graduated in 3 and then got into Medicare. So for the past 2 years, is what I've been doing. And
We're going to back up a little bit and kind of lend some credibility to what Steve said earlier. But how many Medicare policies did you sell in your first AEP?
my first AEP, about 40.
Yeah. And then how many did you do this last AEP? And the point I'm trying to drive home is you got more reps under your belt. You got better and better and better. How many did you sell this AEP?
I don't know the exact number, but it was 190 something, 198 or 196.
You're number 2 in the state of Virginia and number 2 in the country, or number 3 in the country. It's pretty good. As a 22-year-old kid, 23-year-old kid, I mean, that's where we want to be. And folks, that's not because he's my son and I gave him a special favor. We have other agents who beat him in our office, frankly. We have other agents who are just behind him. It's just the way it worked out. But it takes reps. You're going to not succeed day one. Accept that. Know that you're going to, if you first got started, if you've been a Medicare agent for years and you got started when a few years back, you struggled at the beginning. I struggled for like a year myself. It takes time. The difference with life insurance, though, is you can struggle with. A question just came up, and I'll bring it up, Rich. You can struggle, but put cash in your pocket quick, whereas Medicare takes a long time. So the question that Rich asked is, since life insurance is so lucrative, why even bother with Medicare? And Steve,
because you have front end money and back end money. You want the passive business as well, right?
Yeah.
The nice part about the Medicare money is it's always recurring. Like, correct? Like that's the best part.
Yep.
I love it when I get X amount of dollars put in my account every month, whether I get out of bed or not.
Mm-hmm.
But I also like it when I get out of bed and I go work an 8 to 10 hour day or whatever it is for me, and I'm calling 10 appointments that are on, for final expense or whatever it is that we're selling, life insurance or whatever, and I get 2 sales and I put $2,000, $3,000, $4,000 in my pocket today, which will come by the end of the week, depending on how you have your contract set up.
Right.
That's why, Rich. So, you got short-term cash flow and long-term cash flow. I'm a big believer in the long-term cash flow of Medicare and all the things it can bring to you. But I'm also an enormous believer, especially for new agents, to start selling some life insurance. You don't have to do big numbers like maybe Steven does. 1 or 2 policies a week. And that kind of goes to the next question. If I'm an agent selling Medicare, and let's say I have 100 clients a year that I sold, 100, right, in Medicare. Now, we have CMS restrictions. We can't necessarily sell life insurance right there. We have all these restrictions. But I can sell it afterwards.
24 hours, right? Something like that?
Yeah. I can sell it afterwards, just like the PNC agents do and everybody else does. And your friend did that had his Medicare agency. If I have 100 clients, how much money could I make if I'm an average person selling life insurance to those 100 people? Would you say?
On the low end, probably 50 to 60.
Yeah.
On a normal average, I think you should clear at least 100. And it's not because everybody will buy. It's because there's different premium levels. And not only that, there's referrals. Like, the fun part about selling final expense to seniors is they don't usually just buy one. They buy a policy for them and their grandkids.
Right.
Like that's how it works. And by the way, Mutual of Omaha has a phenomenal
We just had a big
children's
conversation about kids' life insurance yesterday. We're going to try
And
and
and it goes back to bundling again. Like I'm putting 3-4 policies on this client, they're going to be okay.
Yeah.
And so I think you should, 50 on the low end, 50, 60 on the low end. I think you should clear 100. If you're really good, you probably clear more than that. And it's just like, here's the other thing. And I'm embarrassed to say this. I've written over $1 million worth of life insurance in about 3.5 years when I started. And I kind of took a step out of the field. You want to know how many referrals I got, Sean, in that 3.5 years?
None.
0.
Yeah. Takes time.
Like we sucked at our company at getting referrals because we were always chasing a new lead. Now, you look at the other agent that I was talking about, the one that was strictly selling to friends and family. That's all they do. Hey, give me a list of contacts. Who do you know that can use my service? Like, I don't even know how to do that. And so if you guys were already competent at that, you'd be head and shoulders way better than I.
Yeah.
And that's where we learned something about a year or two ago that I thought was brilliant. We call it, for the life insurance side, we call it the emergency response network. And what it basically means is, all right, so, Sean gets an insurance policy, and then we go, all right, Sean, who are 5 people that if something were to happen, your family members can call and go, hey, we need something handled. And he goes, A, B, C, and D. We go, perfect. We're going to call those people right now. We call those people and go, hey, Bob, just to let you know, you're Sean's emergency response network. If something were to happen to Sean, your job is to tell Evan that there's a life insurance policy in place. He needs to go find it, right? And then do the same thing with the second contact, third contact, fourth, and fifth contact. And then after we do that, we go, well, who's on your emergency network? And what insurance policy do you have? And that was a referral program that we had, and so that's why I'm saying if you already have a book of business, you're not starting at zero. You're way ahead of zero. You just actually have to make the calls and go see them again, whether it's in person, on the phone, on Zoom, however, but they already know who you are.
Yeah.
Right.
That was a golden nugget you just gave out. Go ahead, Evan.
And I think that especially for the question of if it is so lucrative, why sell Medicare? So if you are a Medicare focused agent, you know how much we get paid. CMS, they regulate our commission. So let's say it is at 310. And if you're a new agent starting out and you have a goal of you want to make 6 figures a year, so we'll start at 100,000. You're going to get paid $310 per person. So if you only sign up, a good number for an independent agent is 100 per year. Well, that's 300. That's 31,000 a year. So it's going to take you 3 to 4 years to even reach your goal of 100,000. How can I build the bridge between that gap of the 30,000 I'm getting every year to that 100,000? Life insurance is one of the easiest ways to build that gap. You already have the tools and the license to do it, so why not use it?
When we're selling, Stephen, to our population as Medicare agents, so we're talking most of them are 65 and above. Let's say 65 to 75. What are we talking about when we're selling? Are we talking final expense, GULs, IULs, ULs? What are we?
A lot of it, well, it depends, because that's the other thing, right? I always say, there's a lot of companies out there that they're a one-size-fits-all company. They go, hey, because we work at this company, you buy term and invest the rest. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There's other companies that go, we only sell whole life. And then there's other companies like, we only sell IULs. I don't believe that. I believe that you, as an insurance agent, have to sit down with the client and find out what their needs are. Now, most of the time, probably over the age of 65, they're probably going to be some type of final expense. But here's what the other thing that people don't understand. We have our number 1 and number 2 annuity producer never purchased an annuity lead. Can you believe that? You want to know how?
An annuity lead, I assure you. We have an agent who does $1 million a month in annuities. Not a lead. He doesn't purchase a lead from anybody. He does $1 million a month.
You want to know how our annuity producers find them? In final expense appointments. They're 65. They probably worked the job for the last 30, 40 years. They probably have a few orphaned 401ks laying around that they don't even know about. Or they're really, really good at saving money because that's what that generation did. Guess what? Now we just opened up new annuity, opportunities. So not only are you going to sell them a Medicare policy, you're going to sell them a final expense policy to cover their burial. But now they have $200,000 from their 401k that they just worked for, and you can turn that $200,000 into income. Average commission on that is give or take 10, 15 grand deposited into your bank account.
Nice.
Like that is the reason why we go, it's a product suite. You're the agent and you get multiple products to your client. Like, think about this. I'm an Apple guy, right? I have an Apple iPhone and I have the watch and I have the stupid iPad and then I have the MacBook and I have a MacBook Pro too. You know what I mean? Like, I carry the whole thing. Why? Because they got me. And
yeah, they got me too.
Right. But as an insurance agent, if you're a full service firm, and you should be, then you can be the go-to agent literally for not just that person, but for everybody. And they don't have to go get their insurance policy from me. They don't have to get their annuity done from another financial advisor or whatever it may be. They can get it all through you.
Well, let me ask you this, because maybe somebody's intimidated selling life insurance. It is hard, honestly, really hard, I would say, to sell Medicare. The barrier to entry to Medicare is a whole bunch of knowledge, and you don't want to mess up somebody's health care. You definitely don't want
Right.
to mess up a life insurance policy, but you really don't want to screw it up. And CMS has all these rules and regulations and AHIP tests and all this stuff. It takes a good long time, really. I would submit about 3 years of AHIPs to really get down Medicare to where it's, the back of your hand and well. But you certainly can be successful pretty quick with it. But there's frankly not a lot of training. When I first got involved, people asked me my experience coming from the military and the Marine Corps to insurance. The phrase is wanting. That's the word. I found it very wanting. I didn't like it. There was not a lot of great training. I had to learn everything on my own, like uphill struggle. And then when I got uphill, I had to go uphill more and then uphill. And it's like, so let's say we got a rookie who knows Medicare or even learning. Do you have a training program or anything like that set up to where I can become pretty darn experienced pretty quick going through this kind of training to learn how to sell all the various policies that are out there?
Absolutely. And I believe you and Evan have gone through our mortgage protection boot camp too, right? And that's the other thing is, once again, I coached basketball for 12 years. So my goal wasn't to put you on the court and you be nervous because you haven't seen that scenario before. And it's the same thing in what we do. In the life insurance space, there's only about 3 or 4 scenarios. There really are, right? You have the husband and wife, you have the widow, and then you have the parent, like the mom and the daughter or the son, right? That's basically it when it comes to insurance. So it's like, okay, Mary and Bob are married. Bob, if Mary passes away, what's going to happen to you? Mary, if Bob died, what would happen to you? They're both alive, right? The widow is actually the easiest one to sell because they've already gone through it. So it's like you're going to leave behind money for somebody, and then you have the mom or the dad with the child or the grandchildren, and you go, okay, Mary, you pass away, your daughter Sarah, how's she going to be able to afford to live in this home, right? Like there's only so many different angles that we can take, and that's why I'm like, we can teach you those angles, and once you understand them, it's very simple. What I've understood was after about 2 months, we call it running 100 appointments. If you're really good, you can probably get it done in a month, but the average new agent's probably going to take about 2 or 3 months. If you can get through 100 appointments, you'll know almost everything you need to know about selling life insurance. It's not that difficult. It really isn't. It's the reason why, honestly, in our company, our average agent is about 23, 24 years old selling life insurance, and they sell it at a high level, right? You look at the integrity partners. I want to say we have 24 integrity partners, and probably 7 or 8 of them are below the age of 30.
Yeah.
And that's unheard of because if you see the Medicare space, it's not that way, right? And it's because I'm not saying we're smart. We're actually dumber. It's just we just know how to follow a system very well and not ask any questions. So
and that's one of the things I love because I'm not sorry to cut you off with this, but I do want to bring this up. I built my agency. Truth be told, I tell this to our agents when they come here. I could have made $1 million a year selling Medicare. That's a true story. And the things that I was doing, annuities and life insurance, all that. I built this for a passion for young people. And what it was Evan was a football player at the local high school. A young African American kid was kind of homeless, had a bad situation. So I started talking to him. Very smart kid. And I asked him, what are you going to do when you graduate? High school. And he's like, well, I'm going to put myself through college and then I'm going to get myself a good job. And I started thinking about all the jobs that are out there. I'm like,
right.
And where I live, there's a lot of money here. A lot of people work for the government, so they have good paying jobs for the federal government. So that's where all your money's going, by the way. It's coming over here. Thank you very much for your donation. But I started thinking about it, like, where's he going to work? Walmart? Is he going to, unless he works for the government and comes back here, it's kind of hard. Is he going to work at, selling phones at Verizon? So I said, what I want to do? I want to teach young people, people 30 and under, 35 and under. I want to teach them how to make real money in their life. And that's what we're trying to do here. Doesn't mean what's interesting, though, is we have a lot of 50 and 60-year-olds that are doing that and not a lot of 20 and 30-year-olds. And you have a lot of the young people doing that. And for those who are agency builders out there, man, there's a great opportunity for you if you're, having life as part of your agency and so on. Evan, you went through the training relatively recently, and
Yep.
then you started selling pretty quick. Talk about that training. And you were a rookie. We didn't teach you anything about life insurance. I know you're my son. Everybody thinks I give up. It's not how it went. Okay. Tell everybody how the training was that you went through that Stephen had.
Yeah, I mean, the training was and I know my dad talks about this all the time. The training it's more the Marine Corps mindset of taking someone and acting like they don't know anything to get them to the point where they know everything. And that's something I learned at the school I went to. And then that training was the exact same thing. If you go in with the very little knowledge that I had in insurance, or life insurance, I should say, by the end of it, it felt like I knew almost everything there was to be. And I know I still don't, and I'll get that over the appointments and months and months and months of appointments.
Every teenager knows everything.
Right. But the knowledge you gain is very good. And then you can just the detail and the different types of insurance between mortgage protection, the infinite banking, IULs, all those kind of things. And then the personal side of it, the touch of you speaking about your experiences and the humility that you had when you were first being an agent that you talked about even earlier on this call, knowing that you're going to be not as great. And then the more important things to focus on, where you talk about you'd rather have an agent who is good on the phone but sucks in the home than an agent who is good in the home but sucks on the phone. You need to get in front of people. You need to talk to people. In order to do that, you have to go through these steps first: getting the leads, getting the people, getting the qualified clients. And then after that, it's the resources that you have available to you.
About a week
listening in on the Zoom calls and all these kind of things, seeing all the chat groups and seeing the different types of, I've gained probably more knowledge in those chat groups than
a lot
of we do it. Things. And then the question asking, you really figure out what to ask and how to say it and how to ask that person. So I know a couple of times I've had some difficult cases where I've had to throw it in, and you immediately ask 3-4 questions that I didn't even think of.
So what Evan's talking about here, folks, is we have internal chat group to help people sell, with pretty much instant responses. If you come into, let's say, a person with a diabetic with neuropathy of the feet or whatever it might be, or some heart, who do we place them with? Because the hardest thing is placements. It's just like selling a supplement. You have to know all the companies and all their ailments that they'll accept or not accept, and then match the people up and find the right price. So placement is one of the more difficult things to learn, but not difficult once you get it down. And Evan, just real quick, you had just sold recently a life insurance policy within the last week or two. What was the annual premium for that?
It was $4,600, I think, right at 46.
Yeah, $4,600. So
one policy,
one person, two different policies, one person.
Got it. Bottom line, 2 policies, $4,600.
One household, I should say. One household.
Yep, one household. Yep.
That's right. And you got a 20-some-year-old kid making $4,000 in a week. Now, Evan, never mind what he said, but because he's not patient. But yeah, I mean, it's easy if you have the systems in place. What's one of the things I love about Stephen in place? It really is there. Let's kind of finish up here, but leads. Everybody wants to know about leads. So we talked about training. We talk about leads, especially in Medicare. Leads. What how does that work with what you've done?
What's funny is I've ran probably every type of life insurance lead you can possibly think about, right? You can go, what about age mortgage protection? Ran those. Age final expense, ran those. Live transfer, ran those. Like new mortgage data, ran those. Social media, like everything. And even voicemail drops, like everything you can possibly think of, already ran them all. The reason why I wanted to do that was because, number one, I wanted to be able to teach from every angle, right? So like if Evan joined our team and goes, hey, Steve, think about running this lead type, I can give him honest feedback from my personal experience rather than going, I don't know, you tell me, right? I didn't want to ever lead from that perspective. Like I wanted to be able to share my personal experiences so he never got hurt. I say that because what I've learned is I've met top producers in every lead category. I have a friend of mine. His name is Harold. Harold writes $1 million a year on 2-year-old mortgage leads. Wow. They're 2 years old, meaning they filled that thing out 2 years ago. He calls them now and sells them life insurance today. Yeah. And he's $1 million a year producer. I got guys that will run the brand new mortgage data that will do the same. My point is, you just need contacts, right? Like they always say football is a contact sport. Same thing with insurance. You need contacts. The more contacts you have, the more sales you're going to make. And Sean, that's one of the beauties of what you have is you have developed a very phenomenal lead system, with the testing and like the A/B testing, so that when someone joins your group, they don't have to do the guessing work. They can go, I know it works. He's tested it. It's tried and true. Where do I buy? That is the confidence that people need when they join a company is they go, well, do I got to figure it out on my own? See, like one of the reasons why we recruit at a high level easily is because we go, you don't need to figure out where to get leads because we already got them. You don't need to figure out what CRM to use because we rebuilt it. You don't need to figure out what the scripts are because we already wrote it. Like we have everything you need. It's literally plug and play. And that's the beauty of the thing is, we have a bunch of different scripts based on the leads that you're going to call. But with what you guys are building right now, that's very simple. It's very simple.
Yeah, you have a system in place, and we have a system in place, and you have to plug and play into it. And it's a lot of experience. Another word for that is a lot of failure to make that system efficient and better. When we're really plugging away, we plug away. Like unlike many people do with the things that we do, and you're doing it every day. What would you say is the toughest thing when selling life insurance?
The mental game.
Yeah.
The 6 inches between your ears. Because here's what's crazy. And I'm going to share this with you guys because this might not make a lot of sense for Medicare agents. You know what my biggest problem is? And y'all might think, you might laugh, and you probably will. My biggest problem is a 26-year-old kid that's never made money, is now making 20 grand a month and does not know what to do with it. So instead, you know what he does, which is the worst thing? He spends it all. He buys stupid things he shouldn't buy. Buys very nice cars, watches, stupid, like no material value, right? Mm-hmm. Instead of buying a home or investing the money. So what we see is like you take someone that's lived check to check forever, and now you infuse them with cash because they work really hard and the system works. And now they have too much cash. And so they revert to their old thinking, which is this is all going to go away. Spend it before it's gone. Right? That's my biggest challenge. We call it going to Disneyland, right? You have the agent that struggled for 3 weeks and it's such a long time, but all of a sudden the 4th week it clicks. He has a $10,000 a week. Guess what? Got to take the wife and kids to Disneyland. We got to sell 4 days, right? Got to go to Disneyland from Monday to Wednesday because there's no traffic there. So therefore I can ride all the rides I want. And then when you come back, one policy fell off. You don't have any more lead money to purchase because you just spent it all at Disneyland. And now you're actually in a worse situation than before you got started with us. Yeah. That's the biggest problem that I've seen is money management, honestly. And actually, the mental aspect. And here's the thing. I'm sorry. This is funny to me. And actually working once you have a little bit of money. You have a guy that has no money in the bank. They have $500, $600, $700, just like I did when I got started. Now there's 50,000, and they go, Evan, I don't want to call today. It's raining outside. I want to sleep. That's what we struggle with on our side. We don't. Right. It's a lot of it is mental, and that's why if you're disciplined and you can work and show up to work, you'll run circle. The number 2 agent in our company wrote $1.6 million by himself last year. He's an immigrant and has a lisp. So like people can't even understand him. But you want to know why he kills everybody in the company? Because he just works. He works like 10, 12-hour days like it's normal. Yeah. Because it is for most of us, right? And that's all it is. He has systems in place. He has appointments booked to the T every single day, 15, 20 appointments a day because he does it on Zoom now. So if they don't show up, he just goes to the next one. That's what I'm talking about. If you work, this business is not very difficult. Yeah. And people are going to make some bad mistakes financially, and it's okay. It's just that you don't make the same one over and over and over again. Like I had a guy on my team. He's no longer here. He got blown out. He wrote a big case. You want to know what he did, Sean? This is stupid.
The same thing I probably did. Go ahead. I think I know.
He got a $4,000 condo,
No,
and then he bought a Patek Philippe,
Hmm.
and then he bought a new car. And you want to know what happened? That policy charged back.
yeah, I have a story I talk about. Like I like to call it big case-itis. And I sold the guy. The short version, I sold the guy. It was 18 grand. One day, I made 18 grand. That's what I thought. Right? I got the signature. I didn't do anything for like a month because I got 18 grand. I was like, yeah, I can chill out. Well,
Yeah.
it eventually did pay me, and it still paid a lot of money. It was like $6,000 or $8,000. But I got it like 6 months later because he didn't qualify. I had all these issues, blah, 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 blah.
Right.
And the big case itis, we talk about it in our training when we talk about sales training. Just don't pay attention to the money. Just keep working.
Yes.
Focus on the work, not the money. The money will take care of itself. If you're married, trust me, it's going to take care of itself. Just keep working every day. Keep playing. Keep chipping away. And then when you want to go on vacation later on, hey, have a good time. That's what I do. I will put an X amount of money away, and then I'll go have a good time when I want to. If I want to buy a car, I'll buy a car when I need to because I need to, not because I want to. So I
One of the
don't
things
have all those issues anymore.
I'll share this with you, and my buddy Andrew Taylor, he's the largest agency where we work, and he taught me this, and it was so simple. He said, you know what the worst feeling is as a life insurance agent? I was like, what? He goes, when you're at work, you're thinking about your family, and then when you're at family, you're thinking about work.
Yeah.
He goes, because what happens is you're at work going, man, I miss my kids, I miss my wife, whatever it may be. And then what happens is you're with your family now and you're thinking about work going, man, I need to sell that client. I need to sell enough few policies because the pressure is building. He said the best way to knock that out is to handle your business on whatever you're doing at that time in that moment. Like if you're at work, you work and you hit your numbers. So you don't feel guilty about time you spend with your family. And then when you're at family time, you don't feel guilty from taking time away from work because you hit your numbers.
Right.
And I was like, man, that was so good. Because there's so many times when my daughter was like 1, I'm like, oh my God, like I'm sitting here for like 5 hours just watching her crawl around, do whatever. Right. And I'm like, I could be in an appointment right now. I can, 5 hours, that's 5 appointments. My skill set, that's probably like $2,500 I'm missing. And I had to learn how to go, nope, I handled my premium. I hit my numbers. My numbers were 10,000 a week was my number. I ran that for a while. If I didn't hit 10, I'd go work Sunday. If I hit 10 on Friday, I still work Saturday because that was my regular work schedule. And I just added it up. Sunday was going to be real nice. Right. And so when you hit your numbers, you don't have to worry about, your time being dispersed and being able to, like Andrew taught me, basically saying when you're at home, you're thinking about, work, and at work, thinking about home. So.
Last question. I know we're a little bit over the hour. If you're okay with the one more question.
Yep, absolutely.
Because I think this is something I don't know. I'm just kind of prejudging some Medicare agents because I'm a Medicare agent. Would you say that the way you teach or to agents to sell life insurance is that more of a pushy? Because I think a lot of agents think it's car salesmen.
You ready for this? I'm going to show you. I'm going to show you my close. You think I'm kidding? Because Evan has already seen it, so he can verify this is true. If I'm sitting down with you, Sean, let's say it's a final expense appointment. Okay. I go, hey, Sean, if something were to happen to you, who's going to be picking up the pieces? It's going to be Evan. Got it. If could Evan be able to pick up the pieces right now? Yes, no, whatever. Got it. All right. So option number 1 is $20,000 worth of coverage. It's going to be about $150 a month. Option number 2 is $15,000 in coverage, and it's $110 a month. And option number 3 is $10,000, and it's $82 a month. Do you have any questions about what I just showed you? He's going to say yes or no. If he has questions, I'm going to answer him. If he says no, $82 this is my magical close that everybody's always asked me for. I go, out of the 3 options that I showed you, Sean, which one do you like best? And he goes, this one. By the way, the numbers are 70% of the time they take the middle one. 20% of the time they take the third one, and then 10% of the time they take the top one. Those are my numbers. He's going to pick that, and then I submit an application. I hard closed you.
Right.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? I hard closed you, twisted your arm for that bank account number.
We literally do that same thing in Medicare. We just had this training with our agents yesterday. We put down 3 options, whether they're buying an advantage or a supplement, and long story short, the commissions go up and they make more money and they buy more policies and all that. And it's all perfectly compliant. before somebody jumps on me with the compliance police. We do the same thing. We just give them options.
Yeah.
You know, we actually, when I start my presentation, I tell people that my job is to give you the information. Your job is to give me a clear yes and no. And then I lay out an itinerary. I tell them exactly what we're going to talk about. And then we talk about it at the very end. I say, okay, well, I have these policies available to you. Is this something that you want to do? Yes or no? And they say yes every single time because they don't have a choice. And we'll go get down all that stuff. But that's how we sell. And your sales process works perfectly.
We call it setting the table.
Yeah, there you go.
I go, hey, Sean, what I'm going to do is I'm going to ask you a few questions regarding your health and finance. It's going to take about 3 to 5 minutes. After that, I'm going to take the information you give me. I'm going to send it to the 30 different insurance companies I work with. They're going to give me about 2 to 3 options. I'm going to explain those options to you. And if you like what you hear, we can apply. If you don't, we're done.
Yeah. And that's
We're
what I
basically
like about your sales process. It works exactly the way most people sell Medicare, because we have all these compliance things that kind of won't allow us to be pushy and sales issues.
Right.
Your process works perfectly with the typical Medicare agent out there.
Well, you got to remember this. We don't want to be pushy in life insurance because then there's chargebacks. I don't want them to charge back. So I've always said I'd rather them pick a lower option that I know is going to stay on the books forever than to pick a big one that's going to fall off 6 months later. You know what I mean? And and this is a sales tip. I did this very often. So let's say I had a client that was between option 2 and option 3, right? Between 110 and 80. I did this every time and it worked every time. I said, Mary, this is what we're going to do. We're going to apply for option number 3, the $80 plan. And what happens is within 30 days, we can still make changes so we can increase it if you would like. Well, let's just get you an approval first. And then what I would do is I'd call her 30 days later. And guess what, Sean? Every time life has happened. I go, hey, Mary, we got a policy for you for $80. You said you kind of wanted the one that was 110. Did you want me to increase it at 110? She's like, no, I'm glad we didn't. You know, what happened? Refrigerator went out. Got a flat tire.
Right.
Some life. It's called life. Life happened. And I'm good. Good. At least you're covered. The 80 is good.
Yeah.
Right. And I always told my clients, I go, if I was a salesman, I'd sell you the most expensive one. I'm asking you to please purchase the cheapest one. Think about how that makes any sense if I was a salesman. She's like,
Right.
yeah, that's true. Because I wasn't. I was an insurance agent.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah. Well, man, I really appreciate you coming today and spending your time with us. And, you know, we're going to have this on YouTube so people can watch it. You can share it if you like and do what you want, Evan, and all that. I know there's some people are asking questions about how do they get to the training and all that. Well, we're going to plug ourselves a little bit. You know, we're not a big recruiters by any stretch, but, you know, the training that he has available is rather expensive if you want to buy it yourself. But if you want to get it for free and you want to get the top contracts that you can get, we have all that for you available.
Right.
We will bring you on board. We're going to teach you how to sell not only Medicare, if you want to focus on Medicare, but we're going to teach you how to sell life insurance so that you could be a 22-year-old kid or 23-year-old kid selling $4,000 a week pretty much, you know, easily while still selling Medicare. And so you're going to get that training. You're going to get access to all the chats and all the various things to learn how to sell this stuff and be successful. And we have everything that everybody needs in the partnership with Mr. Yee. We have the leads, we have the systems, we have appointment centers, whatever a person wants to tap into, we have it all there. And, you know, it makes people successful. And we're very confident in where we're going with the things that we do. So, Evan,
how do they get a hold of you? How do they get a hold of you if they want to join your team?
Yeah. You can email me, Sean, SEAN at Patriot Family Financial, or simply just reach out to me on Facebook. Most people, they click on my name and just send me a message, and I'll get back to you as soon as I can. We already have quite a few people who have reached out, actually. But yeah, you can reach out to us. You certainly, we're going to create more of a process that's a little easier for that. Bottom line, we send you a link to get contracted. We give you all the carriers to sign up with, and then we start immediately tapping you right into the training so that while you're pending contracting and all that process, then we're going to get you trained on the life side of things. And also, if you want help with Medicare, we do that. But long story short, so that you're ready to go. And a couple weeks later, you can start doing 2, 3, 4, depending on what you want to do, you know, $1,000 a week or $10,000, whatever. Some people, by the way, you don't have to be a Medicare agent to benefit from this program. You can just focus on life insurance. I have people in my office, that's all they do. They sell life insurance. And we're definitely going that route. we'll absolutely have agents out in the field, in an office, wherever they want to be, working various types of leads. It just kind of depends. But, we are not just a Medicare only. I'm an insurance person before I'm anything.
Right.
Evan, do you have anything you want to say?
Nothing really to add. I mean, I think if you're a Medicare agent and you're hesitant about getting into life just because you don't know anything about the products and all these kind of things and all the different various types of insurance, think about it the same way as when you first came into Medicare. I went into Medicare as a 21-year-old person right out of college. I didn't know anything about A and B. I just got licensed, and then I sold 40 policies in AEP, and then another year later, I'm at 192. So it's just going to be the same way for life insurance. You're going to start off, you're going to not have the success that you want, but then as you build up over time, you can get to a point where you are financially able to do what you want to do. This is a bridge between the gap of your goal and where you are now in your Medicare agency.
Right. Yeah. Mr. Stephen Yee, I'll give you the last word, sir.
Yeah, I mean, anything that's worth having is going to take time.
Yep.
Right? Like I look at it like, a home cooked meal takes longer than a microwavable. But a microwavable is quick because everybody wants to get rich quick, right? But it ain't the right way to do it, and it's worse for you, right? And that's what I mean is like, enjoy the process. One of the things that I talk to the agents about that I work with as I go, man, I wish I can trade spots with you. Because when I was a life insurance agent, the only thing I had to worry about was selling life insurance and protecting families. Now I have to do that on top of a million other things. And I'm like, and sometimes I miss just being in the process. And so I look back on my career, and the funnest times I had was meeting clients, hugging clients, especially the ones that couldn't get coverage because they sat with 5 other agents that didn't know what the heck they were doing, but I got them approved for something. So their family's not screwed for anything anymore. And getting that hug from a complete stranger that I barely met 32 minutes ago, like that's what this industry is about. And so, I enjoy it. I love it. And that's the reason why we're here. And I think that's the reason why you're here, because you're in the Medicare business serving people too. Yep. Now we can serve them in multiple ways. So I look forward to working with every single one of you guys, and you guys are going to be in better hands with Sean and Evan. They're doing amazing things and they're crushing it. So if I was a brand new agent getting started in the industry today, I would be working with them.
Well, thank you. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for giving up your time today. I know it's very valuable, and I know that we appreciate it here. And if there's any questions, folks, if you have any questions, I don't care if this is 2 years from now, put it on there. We're going to try and do our best to respond to you and help you out. You can message us, put it on the Facebook page, YouTube, wherever. It's also on Twitter and I think Instagram. So, bottom line, we're going to get back to you as best we can to help answer those questions. But if you have specific questions, feel free to reach out. We're more than happy to help you out on a messenger or talk one-on-one. So, gentlemen, thank you for your time. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
End it for the day. Have a good one.